If your team is anything like the Dodgers, then you've got some holes in your roster to fill. Well, don't sweat it because we've got waiver wire targets at every position coming up next.
It's about that time.
Stoned on Sports.
What's going on, everybody? You are tuned in to Stoned on Sports Fantasy Baseball Edition. My name is Matt, coming to you live on location from the wonderful Port, Tennessee, from a mountainside golf resort or wherever the hell I'm at. There's some nerd convention going on here too. As always, got the co-host Kyle here joining me. Kyle, are you ready for today? We've got an awesome list of waiver wire targets, and I think it's going to be a fun episode. How the hell you doing, dude?
Doing great. Glad you could join us on the road so I didn't have to do this solo because that would have just sucked pretty bad. But heat wave all over the country. You know, I've tried outside and I'm definitely not interested. But we're here for a reason, right? Waiver wire targets. We are going to get right into it. So Mo owned waiver wire targets, actually. We'll start at catcher around the horn here. Number 4 catcher in fantasy since June 1st, 3 doubles, 3 home runs, and more walks than strikeouts. If you're a real Muto owner and you really still haven't found a proper replacement, is Mitch Garver a good ad this week, Matt?
Absolutely, he is. And look, if you look at this dude's top line stats, they look like ass. And I'm not talking about a nice round firm one. I'm talking about a flat wide secretary ass. The dude's hitting under 200 with some power. 10 doubles, which ain't bad. 8 home runs. He's driven in 25, and the dude's expected batting average is just 190. However, walk rate is in the top 10 at over 14%. His strikeout rate is also in the top 10, but in a bad way, if you get what I mean. Guess what? Doesn't matter. This dude, like you mentioned, it's been a totally different story since the calendar flipped to June. Through Sunday, he was hitting 205 with a 380 on base, a 513 slug with 3 home runs, 3 doubles, 11 RBIs, 5 runs, and more walks, 11, than strikeouts, just 10. His strikeout rate is down from just under 30% to 20%, and he's walking 22% of the time this month. It's absolutely insane. And that walk rate has been trending up the last several years, over 10% every full season since 2019. And this dude, look, he's always been a high strikeout batter. That's not going to change, especially when you've got an absolutely terrible whiff rate. The swinging strike rate is just a hair above average, which was actually pretty surprising to me, just given how much swing and miss there is in his game. It shouldn't surprise you either that he's making better quality of contact than he was earlier in the year. And it wasn't really that bad to begin with. His exit velocity and hard hit rate are around average. He's got a top 3rd barrel rate as well, and that's a slight decline overall from last year. However, he is struggling with overall contact this season. His contact rate, just 71.3%. That's down 8 points year over year. His zone contact is a couple points below average, and his outside the zone contact is down 20 points to 38.7%, which is the 5th worst in baseball. And that is absolutely terrible. But he's the 5th most selective batter in the league, swinging at just 38.7% of pitches, which I found it was kind of interesting. His swing rate and his outside the zone contact rate, exactly the same. However, there is some upside to that selectiveness. His chase rate at just over 19% is in the top 7% of the league. He's also hitting a ton of ground balls this season, well over 40%, and that's come at the expense of his line drive and fly ball rates. However, that line drive rate is starting to creep back up lately as he kind of gets into more of a zone, we'll call it. He's not as bad as the season-long numbers look. He's probably not a top 5 guy at the position either rest of season, but he's been playing well, and that makes him worth a look. Also, this dude DHs a lot. Plays damn near every day. He bats towards the middle of the lineup. I really don't know what else you can ask for from a waiver wire target, especially at a position that's as thin as catcher.
Yeah.
I added him in my home league.
I added him in one of the leagues.
Nice.
Yahoo.
Well, it wasn't a home league. It had to be Yahoo because I got him in the other one.
Yeah, there you go.
However, what do we got? We got anything in the chat, or are we ready?
No, ready to roll.
All right, cool. So you don't like Mitch Garver? That's fine. Don't care, because we got another waiver wire target for you that's eligible at first base and catcher. And since June 6th, he's failed to reach base in just one game and has really showed some pop in that stretch as well. What else is going on with the Oakland A's Tyler Soderstrom, Kyle?
He is just excellent right now. He's a left-handed hitter. He's the number 9 first baseman since June 1st. Sorry, I got it. Oh, thanks, Matt. Since June 1st, he's slashing 325, 413, slugging 625 with 4 homers, 8 RBIs, 7 runs scored. You mentioned his hits there. He's on an 8-game hitting streak. In fact, he's recorded a hit in 10 out of his last 11 games. And he's been creeping up the order too, consistently batting in the 4 or 5 hole. On the season in 31 games, he's got 21 hits and 98 plate appearances, 3 doubles, 5 homers, 13 driven in, and 9 runs scored. So, some bad stuff. Strikeout rate is high on the season. It's at 31.6. But since June 1st, he's really improved that. He's much better at just under 22%. Walk rate, excellent, 12.2% and over a 4% improvement from last season. Dude really smacks the shit out of the ball, right? Hard hit rate is outrageous at 56.6. Average exit velos at 93.2 mile an hour. Barrel rate of 17%, just huge there. And he's improved on all 3 of those metrics year over year. Now, I mentioned he's only got the 31 games played, so he's not enough at bats to be a qualified hitter as of yet. But if he was, he would rank in the top 5% in all of those 3 batting metrics there. He's improved year over year on his slugging percentage by a whopping 224 points, and his expected slugging is also up by 192. Batting average also improved by about 90 points versus last year. So, you got a guy that strikes out 31% of the time. He will whiff. Okay. He will chase. Both of them are measuring below average compared to the rest of the league. As with a lot of young hitters, the guy's just 22 years of age. He's a kid, really. He's struggling mighty with breaking balls, whiffing it over 48% of the time. He's having trouble with the curve, right? Below average contact in the zone, not a major difference, just 2% less than MLB average. But boy, when he does chase pitches out of the zone, he's very, very bad at making contact, just 41% of the time. That's over 16% lower than league average. Fly ball rate over 30%. It's a little too high for me, but it makes some sense with his above average launch angle. I'd like to see him drive the ball some more. He's got a below average line drive rate of just 22.6. And as a lefty, he does not really pull the ball that much, surprisingly. He relies on hitting balls more up the middle and to opposite field. He's as a lefty, you might expect that he doesn't get, every start or every game. He's only had 6 plate appearances versus left-handed pitching, but continues to see steady playing time at first base versus right-handed pitchers. And he could push for closer to an everyday role if he continues to hit well. There are some areas that, he needs to work on, I talked about, but, I think he has the ability to become the player that the A's saw when they drafted him. And no baseball player is never a finished product, right? Because the game is all about making adjustments to the opposition's adjustments, right? He must work on them breaking balls, the whiffs and the strikeouts, but he's a great add during this hot streak, even if he does play for the Oakland Athletics. We got anything in the chat?
Negative.
All right, let's move on to second base. I actually was going to talk about David Hamilton today, and then he went out with a side injury, and there's not much more on him, so I had to pivot. I'm going backwards here. Luis Garcia with the Washington Nationals. There's like 3 Luis Garcias in the league. So he's the number 28 26th second baseman on the season. Kyle, why are we talking about this guy then, right? Well, he's a left-handed hitter. He sits against left-handed pitching, but through June 28th, next 10 games only, including today's game, only scheduled to face 1 left-handed pitcher. So plenty of consecutive at-bats coming up. In his 13 games since June 1st, he's hit safely in 9 of those games with multi-hit efforts in 4 of those 9 games. On the year, he's got 60 games played, 59 hits, 12 doubles. So there's some extra base hit upside there. 5 homers, 28 driven in, 20 runs scored. I really like. And of course, 9 stolen bases. I'll take that all day long. He's slashing 269, 304, 393 on the year. Expected stats are all above average. The expected batting average up is a tick higher than normal, but his expected slugging is about 448 now. He's in the 70th percentile among qualified hitters. Strikeout rate, excellent, 17-4. That's above average. He's in the top quarter in the league. Unfortunately, he doesn't walk much, only about half the rate of league average or so. He's in the bottom 10% in the league. Hard hit rate, 48 is a 40.8 is above average, 4% higher than league average, and 4% higher than his rate last season. And while his exit velocity is below average at 88.8 miles per hour, it is up a tick from last year. What I like about him is his above average barrel rate, 8.4%. Couple that with his 4-degree increase in his launch angle, and that has helped add a bit more pop in his bat this season. I mentioned he's had 5 home runs. Dude had only 9 in 122 games last season, so he's on pace to beat that. And the 12 doubles I mentioned earlier, he's on pace to smash the 18 he had last season. You smirking, Matt? Must be some good stuff popping off in the chat. Some good and bad with his swing and miss game. All right. Garcia will chase, as evidenced by his very high 35% chase rate, but does well with the whiffs. He's in the 60th percentile. In fact, if it wasn't for his 37% whiff rate versus breaking balls, he'd be one of the better hitters in that respect. Very good contact hitter, above average in the zone. And when he does chase, even with that high 35% rate of his, he still makes above average contact out of the zone. And when he does make contact, he doesn't really pull the ball that much, preferring to hit batted balls up the middle and opposite field. So listen, all his power metrics are up. His slash line, both real and expected, are up. In the last month, he's been hitting anywhere from the 3 to 6 hole prime spots there for fantasy. I guess we'll see how he responds with several consecutive days in the lineup. If he does well, he's a hold for me if you need him. Otherwise, like a bad first date, kick him to the curb. All right. Headed around the diamond here, we're going to shortstop. This shortstop hit his 10th homer on the season last night versus Milwaukee. In the past 6 games, he's hit 3 homers, driven in 7, while batting .318 over that span. Matt, tell us more about Zach Neto.
Zach friggin' Neto. And in a season where players are dropping like a fat kid on a seesaw, this is what we've come to. This dude has essentially matched last season's performance in 75 fewer plate appearances. You mentioned the 10 home runs. He's hitting around 250 with an on base around 300. In OPS around 720. He's got 16 doubles. He's driven in 28, stolen 9. He's a top 10 option at the shortstop position this month. This dude was a first-round pick in 2022, played only 41 games in the minors before getting called up last year. Looking at it, his plate discipline, his strikeout rate is right around league average, which is pretty good for somebody as inexperienced as him. The whiff rate is pretty bad, though. Chase rate is even worse. Swinging strike rate is 3 points higher than average. So, what does that tell us? There's a lot of swing and miss in this dude's bat, and he's going to strike out. The walk rate isn't amazing either. It's down a point from last season's 6.1% mark, but that's okay, right? All of these players have warts. They're all flawed. None of these are first-round pick type talents. But when you get to the middle of June here and somebody goes down, your options are pretty limited, right? He doesn't have the greatest contact skills yet. His overall contact rate is a few points below average. However, his contact in the zone isn't that bad. And he's got a solid hit tool he's going to develop. Remember, this guy has, less than 162 games of total major league experience. Quality of his contact is pretty damn good. The exit velocity is a little above average. He's got a barrel rate approaching 10%. Hard hit rate is a touch low, but you want to remember, especially when we're looking at exit velocity and hard hit rate, a little dribbler down the line with like a 10-mile-an-hour EV is going to skew a lot of that towards the shitty side, right? His expected slugging is in the top 25% of the league. This dude pulls the ball more than most, but it's not at crazy levels. However, only 2 of his 25 extra base hits have gone to the opposite field. He skews towards being a fly ball hitter, although his fly ball rate is down 5 points from last year, with a corresponding increase to his ground ball rate. And that's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, right? 5 points is kind of like expected variance from year over year, right? And you got to remember a fly ball has a lower expected batting average than a ground ball. However, as a result of the lower fly ball rate, he's had a 3-point jump to his home run to fly ball rate. And while there's some luck in there, it points to the power that we've seen from him being legit. He's more than his fair share of weak contact, though, at 6.8%. That's 3 points higher than league average. And he hits primarily 6th in the order. He's not a huge source of power, but depending on who you lost, maybe you lost Bo Bichette today. All right. Bo Bichette has been absolutely terrible. He's been garbage, borderline unrosterable for somebody who you drafted in the top 5 to 6 rounds, and you were expecting a lot, and you have gotten jack shit. You know,
I remember when Loud Boy dropped him in the podcast league, and you threw, I don't know, $20-$30 on him, or maybe it was higher than that. I can't remember. And
it definitely was.
I was like, "What? You outbid me for it," and I'm glad I didn't waste that money because it didn't work out for you.
Well, screw it. You know, you can't take it with you.
Yeah,
there's something wrong with him, and maybe this IL stint is what he needs, but you know, who knows? But anyway, Zach Neto, he's a solid replacement. I don't necessarily know I want him in there rest of season, but whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mentioned earlier in the open that the Dodgers had a rough weekend. Mookie can't be replaced, but the man taking the field for him is eligible at 3 positions and gets a spot in one of the best offenses in baseball. Kyle, what will Miguel Rojas add to our teams?
Well, I think a veteran presence. Okay. He's a veteran in his 11th season. And Betts is hurt, much to the detriment of my home league. I was just crushed the other day, but Rojas is the next man up, right? He is the number 32 shortstop in fantasy this season. He averages 3.2 points per game in Yahoo standard scoring. Betts averages 3.4. So not far off, my friends. I'm not saying Rojas is Betts, not by any means, but there's a lot to like, all right? He got the start at short yesterday, June 17th, and showed out, really, with 3 hits, 1 double, 1 driven in, and 2 runs scored on the year in 43 games. 33 hits, 10 doubles, 3 homers, 15 runs, 15 batted in with 3 steals. He's slashing 292, 339. With a slugging of 460, an OPS of 799. That's pretty good. The slugging is a surprise. He's 100 points higher than his career average and his expected slugging this year, but he does not strike out at all. Okay. Obviously he does, but a very above average, just 8.3% of the time, and currently 4% better than career norm. So he's still he's a career 12% strikeout. That's excellent. Usually doesn't walk much though, just 6.6%. I don't see that really improving even with the more playing time. He's just got a 6.3 career walk rate. Guy does not hit the ball hard, right? He just doesn't, and he never really has. He's not a qualified hitter with only 121 plate appearances, but if he was, he would be in the bottom 10% in average exit velo, hard hit rate, barrels, and bat speed. So as an 11-year vet, he's been around. He's seen a lot of things. He's got a nice eye at the plate. He's in the top 5% in whiff rate in the league and the top 3rd best hitters in chase rate in the league. And so as a hitter with no power, how does he survive, right? That's right. good contact. His contact rates are elite, 92% rate in the zone, 10% higher than league average. And among all hitters with 100 plate appearances, he's 12th, just 12th in the majors in that respect, up there with, Arise and the dude he replaced, Mookie Betts. Out of the zone, contact almost 73% of the time. That's 19th out of 339 hitters with at least 100 plate appearances. That's pretty damn good. Remember, I've said it, Matt said it, good things will happen when the ball is put in play, and Rojas offers that. Batting average, expecting batting average are up this year. Slugging and expected, same thing, both improved, and his on-base percentage is up by almost 50 points year over year. He's a great add in deeper leagues, or if you have a middle infielder spot, roster spot you have to fill in your league. And, while he in the bottom of the third of the order, like Matt said at the top of the segment, that's a nice lineup of teammates to be doing it in. Add him if you can, if you need him.
All right. So we've got James in the chat coming back to hang out with us. Appreciate you, brother. He's in a Roto redraft league, and he's got some waiver options for starting pitchers. Max Meyer, Matt Waldron, Justin Steele, or Shane Baz. So granted, I've been a little bit out of pocket down here in friggin' Appalachia. I don't think Max Meyer is up yet, but he is a fantastic stash. I think of the players that you listed there right now, the one doing the best is probably Matt Waldron, but I don't necessarily know he can keep that up for the long term. Dudes who throw the knuckleball and the knuckleball's performance itself is notoriously fickle. A knuckleball that doesn't knuckle is a batting practice fastball that gets hit in the fifth row. Right. I lean towards Steele just because we don't know when Meyer's going to be up. Baz is coming back from injury, and that rotation there in Tampa right now is kind of a mess because outside of just a dude or two, nobody really has the really defined roles there. If you need the help right away, I'd take Steele. If you can afford to stash somebody, I'd take Meyer because that home ballpark is amazing. He looked great when he was up earlier this year. He got sent back down to AAA because, quite frankly, the Marlins are a very poorly run franchise, and I don't really understand exactly why they do what they do, but they also don't give a shit what I think. Sure. So yeah, if you need the immediate help, I'm taking Steele. If you can afford to wait, I'll go with Meyer.
What I wonder, James, let us know, but what are your categories in that, by the way? I'd be curious. If there's not wins, I'd definitely agree on going with Steele. Some leagues don't do wins. I think wins or decisions are stupid category to have in Roto, but yeah, I agree with Matt. Steele for sure. Kelsey in the chat, would you dump Jansen for Elbies? Yes, I would. Pull the trigger on that because you already have Contreras, right? I just got as our catcher.
So you got William Contreras. Get rid of Jansen. He isn't helping you at all.
Yep. No reason to roster a second catcher with Contreras as the number one fantasy catcher.
Yep. James says they do have wins as a category.
Oh, all right. So it sucks that he doesn't have a win yet. Steele's had out of his last 4 starts, 3 quality starts. He's looking so much better since he stumbled there after he came back from that hammy injury as well. So I have him in both leagues, I think. Yeah. And I love him, but it's a points league, not Roto. Good luck, James. All right. Where are we at today? Are we headed to the outfield? I believe we are. So we got a couple Dodgers we're going to talk about here. This rookie outfielder for the Dodgers has been picking up the pace at the plate again, and is batting .314 and is the fantasy outfielder number 44 in the month of June. Matt, what does Andy Pages offer fantasy managers?
So, it's kind of funny because this dude was a top 100 prospect, and he got called up when they sent James Outman's ass packing, and rightfully so, because he was making contact on less than 70% of his swings. But I can't really remember a top 100 dude who came up to less fanfare than him, especially when you consider the team. And this dude come up and he announced his presence with authority. 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, and a 340 average in his first 16 games. And then the league adjusted. He hit just 177 over his next 22 games with 1 home run and just a metric fuck ton of strikeouts. Yep. And that's usually where a lot of players get stuck. They come up, they look good early. The league adjusts, they get a little bit of a book on them, and then they don't know how to make that second adjustment. Well, this dude, he does. He adjusted to the adjustment. And I've said that word way too many times now. But yeah, you talked about since June 1st, he's hitting over 300. He's got a pair of home runs, some doubles, 7 walks, just 10 strikeouts. And this dude has been a legit outfielder 3. He's hovered mostly around the 30 overall mark for the month. And looking at those 7 walks he's got in June, he had just 4 in all of May. Now, 7 walks and 52 plate appearances isn't good, right? But he'd shown the ability to draw a walk in the minors. I wouldn't be shocked if he carried a 7+% walk rate rest of season, and his walk rate in June is over 13%. We see his approach improve with the adjustments that he's made, cutting down on the strikeouts. That's down to just over 19% in June. And I said that damn word again. The whiff and strike rates still aren't great for the year, but he's a rookie. He doesn't have the greatest hit tool, but he's more than holding his own. His contact rate is around average, as is his contact in the zone. And that's really what you want to look for. If you're getting a pitch in the zone, I expect you to be able to hit it along with everybody else. But his quality of contact is where he really shines. He's in the top 30% in hard hit rate and barrel rate, and he's got a max EV of 111 miles an hour. His exit velocity is low at just 88.2 miles an hour, but it makes sense given his 8% weak contact rate. Remember, I just talked about this just a couple minutes ago. He hits the ball in the air a lot. His fly ball rate is 10 points above league average. Ground ball rate is well below, and his line drive rate is just a tick above. And given the quality of contact and the fly ball rate, his 11.1% home run to fly ball makes sense. He's not going to have a prominent spot in the order all that often, just given how the team is built, but usually hits somewhere between 5th and 7th in the lineup. And with the rash of injuries that he's seen, we've seen what the Dodgers have here over the past few days, he might sneak back up towards that 5 hole in the lineup as opposed to hitting towards the back. I think he's a good ad. And just based on him being a rookie, there's going to be ups and downs in the season, and you're going to have that with everybody. But those peaks and valleys tend to be larger when you're a rookie, just because you don't have all that experience. But I do think he's a solid ad, especially if you're looking for power or some run production. Scoop him up. If I had the need for him, he would certainly be on my team.
Excellent.
So the next outfielder we're going to talk about has a couple home runs and 8 RBIs in just the last handful of days. And this dude crushes right-handed pitching like it owes him money.
Sure does.
Kyle, tell us what Joc Pederson can do for us.
Veteran as well. So I talked about Rojas and his extreme lack of power. Joc Pederson is a different story. He's all about the power plus a great ability, as Billy Beane would say, to get on base. Since June 1st, he is the number 15 fantasy outfielder. Kelsey, if Joc Pederson's available, he might be a decent replacement for so you had somebody in the comment there, I think like maybe jettison Ian Happ or something like that, and maybe grab Joc Pederson, at least for the short term. In 61 games so far, 49 hits, 12 doubles, 9 home runs. He's got 33 driven in and 27 runs scored, throwing 4 stolen bases as well. He is slashing 288, 386, slugging 518 with a 904 OPS on the season. Is it my imagination, or has he done that real quietly? Because I was
very quiet.
I was very shocked. Strikeout rate is at 24.8. It's below average, puts him in the bottom 30% in the league. I think this will improve a little bit. He's been more of an average guy in his career. Walk rate, I mentioned that ability to get on base. This is where he is just extra valuable. He is walking at an 11.7% clip. And I believe I mentioned his power, right? His StatCast is very red. Average exit velo, top 10%. Hard hit rate is 50.4. That is the 19th best in the majors with any hitter with 200 or more plate appearances. Barrel rate puts him in the top 20%. His launch angle sweet spot, top 25%. And his expected stats of batting average, slugging, and WOBA are all red and all far above average. Like a lot of power hitters, he's an extreme fly ball pull hitter. He's a lefty, like Matt mentioned. He will sit versus left-handed pitcher, but he will DH every game. He doesn't really play in the field anymore, and he'll be hitting in the 3-hole every damn time against right-handed pitching. And he's just been a menace to right-handing pitching in his career. He is slashing 245, 346, 491 versus right-handed pitchers in his career. And he's, even when he's almost always at or above league average hitting numbers, regardless of whether he has an up or down year. He's always been a clutch hitter too. He's slashing 266, 375 with 467 with runners in scoring positions in his career. I love that he moved parks. He's in a more hitter-friendly park there at Chase Field, and I think he was at Oracle Park last year. This week he's got some lefty matchups this week, but he has a 7-game homestand next week, the week of June 24th. They're playing versus the Twins, and that's like I'll call that the Oprah team of right-handed pitchers. You get a righty, you get a righty, you get a righty. They're full of right-handed starters. And then he has a weekend series versus the lowly Athletics, losers of 9 in a row. He is a great add if you're in need of a power-hitting outfielder.
All right. Okay. We got James here in the chat.
All right.
In his Roto League, his outfield is strong. He's got Ozuna, Yordan Alvarez, Julio Rodriguez, and Tatis. Do you consider these players better than Luis Robert or Adolis Garcia available on the wire?
I do. Just Adolis is just not having a good season.
He's not.
Texas as a team is not having a great season.
It's that World Series hangover, man.
Yep.
It almost seems like sacrilege to say this considering he was a top 5 pick, but Julio Rodriguez, man, is just not it this year. And I don't have him rostered anywhere, but I understand how that could be frustrating. Given the level of talent, I think he is a more talented player than either Luis Robert or Adolis Garcia. I'm tempted to want to wait, but I'm not going to wait a whole lot longer. If I was going to drop somebody from that group of 4, it would be Julio Rodriguez. And if I was going to scoop somebody up, it would be Adolis, just because while he's not going to give you the same average or on base percentage as what Robert is going to give you, the run production is going to be far superior just because of the team context, even though Texas.
Let's see. Am I the only one on here, guys? I thought my internet just went out, but maybe it is Matt's there. Okay. Let's talk about a starting pitcher. All right. First one we got for you is Cade Povich with the Orioles, just 9% owned. He's a left-handed pitcher there, number 9 prospect in the organization. Tech support. Thanks there, loud boy. He got roughed up in his first start at Toronto, gave up 6 earned, 1 home run, walked 4 in 5 1/3 innings pitch, but rebounded nicely the next time out versus Atlanta. 6 innings pitched, 0 earned run, no walks with 6 Ks in a no decision, but a quality start nonetheless. And right now we don't really know if that was attributed more to Povich or more the Braves' struggles at the plate this season, especially recently. His ERA is at 4.76, whips a tad a bit high at 1.24. Strikeout rate could need some help there. It's at 16.3. It's below average, and maybe there's something more to that. In the minors, he was over 30%. I guess I should have put the banner up because I kind of panicked when Matt dropped off the call. So despite that high strikeout rate in the minors, he had just an 11.7 swinging strike rate. So that tells me right away that he was racking up a lot of strikeouts on called strikes. And that has me kind of concerned about his sustained MLB success in that respect. But we're talking about right now or an ad for next week, right? His walk rate is 8.2, just a tick above average this season. And now, while he's only pitched a total of 11 innings, so very, very small sample size, he is not allowing jack squat for hard contact. Average exit velo, just 83.8 miles an hour. Hard hit rate, just 25%. That's some amazing numbers in a small sample. Doesn't have a truly elite pitch, right? Nothing that really stands out, but has a deep 5-pitch mix that works well off one another. He throws a very low velocity 4-seamer, a curve, a cutter, a changeup, and a sweeper. I love his curveball. He generates a whiff rate of 44% on that pitch, and it's his put away pitch versus right-handed batters exclusively. Versus same side hitting, his sweeper becomes his put away pitch, striking out left-handed batters 50% of the dang time. He's got plus command on most of his arsenal. I think that gives him a pretty damn solid foundation. He's allowed just 1 homer this season. His 16.6 degree launch angle might be a concern, especially when you couple it with a very high fly ball rate of 33.3%. But with all the soft contact, they'll mostly likely turn into, easily caught balls in the outfield. So what kind of batted ball can a pitcher induce with soft contact, a high launch angle, and get one of the easiest outs in baseballs? That's right. Pop-ups. In a small sample size, he's very successful at it. He gets batters to pop up 8.3% of the time. It's almost 1.5% better than league average. He is pretty average on contact, whether contact allowed, whether it's in or out of the zone. And listen, this guy was probably on his way back to Triple A with Dean Kramer rejoining the rotation very soon. But you probably all heard Kyle Bradish went back on the IL Saturday, I believe it was, for a UCL strain again. He's on the 15-day IL. I expect it will be a while before we see him, perhaps not till 2026. He's already struggled with the UCL issue before, so it makes you wonder if TJ is coming up soon. He's got a scheduled start at the Yankees tomorrow night, the 19th. That'll be a test for him versus that lineup. Make sure you check how he fared. But I love the team context. I love the home park for him. They're both pretty ideal. If you have the spot, pick him up on a spec ad.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we got Loud Boy in the chat. Yeah, I'm back.
Nice.
So let's see here. He asked, should he keep DJ Hers? I'm going to say absolutely. You get 13 strikeouts in 6 innings. Like, I don't give a shit who you are. That warrants a second look.
Yeah.
I would have a short leash with him, but he's definitely earned a roster spot for at least another week.
Nice.
So we need to go back to the outfield.
Yes, we do.
Left one off.
I pivoted there. Yes. Hold on. Let me double check. Yeah. Okay. This guy we're about to talk about is fantasy outfielder number 51 since June 1st. He's in the middle of a 10-game homestand right now, and he's always really been at his best there, hitting .309 with a .931 OPS at home this season. Matt, what's up with Charlie Blackmon of the Colorado Rockies?
Yeah, and considering this dude is 37 years old, he's not having a bad year.
Right.
Through Sunday, he had a 266 average, getting on base. We'll call it a 33.5% clip. Had an OPS approaching 750. He's only got 3 home runs, but he's got 3 triples, 16 doubles, driven in 26, scored 33, and he's even stolen 5 bases. And there's some good and some bad with that. Right. So the good 12.9% strikeout rate, that's 6th best in baseball. And he pairs that with excellent whiff and swinging strike rates. He's also chasing at one of the highest levels of his career, but he's old. Bat speed slows down. He's trying to keep his ass in the show. Walks are around league average, but this dude puts the ball in play. And he's always had well above average contact ability. This year is no different. His overall contact rate is just under 85%, making contact in the zone at a 91% clip. And even outside the zone, he's making contact at the second highest rate of his career. The quality of that contact, though, completely different story. I talked about there being some good and bad. Well, here comes the bad. His 84.5 mile an hour exit velocity is the worst among qualified hitters. His hard hit rate is the 5th worst. His barrel rate is a little bit better, but it's still in the bottom 25% of the league, and that's just because of the launch angle that he gets. Looking at his batted ball data, he trends towards fly balls with a line drive rate that's about average and a ground ball rate a little bit below. But I'm more than happy with that in Coors Field. And even with the overall poor quality of contact, the higher line drive rate and better than average speed are helping him carry a 299 BABIP, which is actually really low for him. He's got a career 328 BABIP. He's been, right around outfielder 40 this month. And while I expect that pace to slow, I mean, the dude is outperforming his expected slugging by 60 points. I think he's a good ad until the break. He's got 14 of his next 19 games at Coors Field. And he's somebody who you're not going to get a lot of power from him. To me, he's a points league ad as opposed to a roto league ad, just because, while he doesn't necessarily have the home run power anymore, he does have some pretty solid extra base power. He's not highly rostered. To me, he's a short-term ad, probably just until the break, and then we'll see how things go. And I see Kyle is having one of his fits. So we got James in the chat. He's got one more question. He's got Gunnar Henderson, Corey Seager, and Volpe. If you had to move one because one ends up on the bench, who would that be? Second baseman is Marcus Semien. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, Henderson, Seager, and Volpe are all in the top 11 on the year in fantasy at that position. That's it. Seager's dropped off a bunch. I think he's dropped down to like 30 or 40 since the 1st of June, just because Texas has been struggling a lot too. But that's tough.
It is. I think you're going to get the best return for Gunnar Henderson, but I don't really want to move him either. No. I would probably skew towards moving Seager just because of the injury history with him. The dude hasn't played 140 games in like 7 years.
Yeah.
And Volpe's got that nice 2020 upside. So yeah, if I had to move one, it would be Seager, and all three of those dudes are all too good to have on your bench.
Yeah.
And then Kelsey's asking, what is a roto league? So
nice.
A roto league, instead of accumulating points based on how a player does, you get a point for a single, 2 points for a double. A roto league just counts everything up. So either at the end of the week or at the end of the year, there are categories, and whoever scores the most in those categories will win. And that's kind of a shitty explanation. So let me try that again. You'll have 5 hitting categories generally. So we'll go with just the normal home runs, RBIs, runs, batting average, and stolen bases, right? And then for pitching, it's usually wins, saves, whip, strikeouts, and win, save, strikeout. What the hell am I missing? Is that 5? Anyways, there's 5 pitching categories. So you'll go through your matchup. Most of the leagues are season long, and so you'll just add up your totals in every category, and then you'll get points for it. So if there's 10 teams in the league and you have the most home runs, you'll get 10 points. Second place gets 9, so on and so on and so on. They can be just as much fun as a points league, especially if it's a weekly head-to-head roto league, but the strategy is very, very different.
Yeah. Kelsey, it does sound a little confusing. I popped a link in the chat. It's a video we did about, what was it called? Fantasy Baseball 101. And it was a video we did about different types of league types. I think we explained it pretty well in that video. So check it out if you're interested.
Yeah, I don't think I could have explained it any worse right there.
Yep.
So,
I thought that was pretty bad, and that's why I decided to put the link in the chat.
all right. So we're going to head back to the mound. We talked about all our hitters, and Kyle, did his best and covered and moved on to Cade Povich. So now I'm going to be talking about Spencer Arrighetti of the Houston Astros. This dude from May 2nd to June 10th was the number 17 overall starting pitcher. And then he got his shit pushed in by the Tigers a few days ago, but that was more of a freak occurrence. The Tigers hit 3 home runs in that game, and I think they had hit 3 in like the previous dozen games. And over his 8 starts in that period from May 2nd to June 10th, he'd only given up 4 total, right? He was 3-2 in that stretch, struck out 46. He walked 22, which is a lot. Gave up 18 earned runs and 41 and 2/3 innings pitched. And like I said, this dude is just walking too many people. As a matter of fact, he's walking almost 5.5 per 9. And that's something he struggled with in the minors as well. But the strikeouts are really nice. He's at over 10.5 per 9. His whiff and swinging strike rates are both better than average, but the chase rate is well below. But he's had good strikeout numbers in the minors, and he doesn't get as much movement as a lot of guys do on his pitches, and that can help explain the chase rate because he's just not fooling a whole hell of a lot of guys.
Yeah.
His quality of contact isn't bad. It's just a little bit below league average in exit velocity, hard hit rate, and barrel rate. His max EV is among the worst in the league. And look, that's one batted ball, right? That somebody just got a hold of. Shit happens, right? His overall contact is better than average, both in and out of the zone. He's got a 6.37 ERA on the year, but his expected ERA is 2 runs lower, and his xFIP is a little over 2 runs lower. He's got a 3.63 BABIP, which is no bueno, and a 68% strand rate. However, given his strikeout potential and his ability to miss bats, I think both of those numbers are going to improve, and I think you're going to see his top line stats improve along with them. There's going to be some risk just because of the number of fly balls that he gives up, and he gets pulled quite a bit as well, so he can be susceptible to the long ball. Like I was saying there, the other day, the Tigers really took his ass to behind the woodshed there.
They did.
I think he's a solid streamer for sure, but you're going to want to pay close attention to the matchups and start him in the most favorable matchups.
Yeah, Tigers chased him in 2 innings, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was
quick, but he had been pitching so much better before that. So
absolutely.
All right, we got anybody in the chat here? Let's see. Supersonic. All I know is when I listen to you guys, I win.
Hell yes.
Heck yeah. So what? You've lost 5 times this year. You didn't listen to us 5 times. That's what you're saying. Okay. Another pitcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 41 fantasy starting pitcher since May 20th. So call it the last month. He took a no-no into the 7th versus a potent Yankees lineup last Thursday. Has a start tonight at Oakland. Matt, how can this dual eligible pitcher, Alec Marsh of the Kansas City Royals, help fantasy managers out of a jam?
Well, like you said, he's got 2 starts this week. He's starting in Oakland tonight, and then he's got to start at a struggling Texas team. The Texas start sounds rough, but he just went 7 shutout innings, allowing only 1 hit against the Yankees his last time out. I mean, if you can do that, you're doing something right. He's had an up and down season, though, with a fair bit of luck. He's got a 3.63 ERA, but his expected ERA is just under a run higher. His xFIP is just over a run higher. The walks are fine at just 2.5 per 9, 7% rate. Totally fine with that. His strikeout rate's about average, but he's got 7 or more strikeouts in 5 of his last 7 starts. However, there is, we'll call it a little bit of concern as to how sustainable that is because his whiff rate and swinging strike rates are both pretty well below average, and he can get hurt by the long ball. He's given up 8 in just 67 innings pitched. The quality of contact he allows isn't great. It's in the bottom 20% of the league by pretty much every measure. He does give up a little more overall contact than average, but it's not that bad. Zone contact's kind of high, but he does work in the zone more often than most. He's got a 254 BABIP and a 73.7% strand rate. I could see those improving a little bit depending on if he can keep the ball in the park, because there's no faster way to ruin a strand rate than to hit a home run, especially if you've got a couple dudes on base. Now, all of a sudden your strand rate is 0 because, you gave up a 3-run bomb. He is decidedly a fly ball pitcher and gives up quite a few line drives, but because of the strikeout upside, I'm good running him out there against pretty much everyone, but do not count on him repeating the performance against the Yankees that he just gave you the other day. That's more an aberration as opposed to a look as to what the hell he's going to do. He's a decent pitcher. Watch your matchups again, and that's going to be a recurring theme here with all of these guys, just because, again, they've got warts. They're missing something that keeps them from being somebody who you're going to keep on your roster the entire season.
Heck yeah. All right. We got a question in the chat. James again. Thinking about picking up Garcia to stash. If my lowest tier starting pitchers are Jake Irvin and Hunter Brown, which would you drop to pick up Garcia? Thanks a lot. They've both been pitching pretty well.
They have.
Even with Hunter Brown, the start to the season was disastrous, but he's been very good.
Yeah, he has, and he's got a better strikeout upside than Jake Irvin and a little bit better team context, at least on paper. Sorry, the cord got stuck on my sleeve and it was driving me crazy.
Oh.
However, I really feel like we're watching a Jake Irvin breakout this season. I really, really do. And in the long term, I would rather have him than Brown. So if you're going to drop one, I think I would rather drop Hunter Brown.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. Supersonic says he snatched up Joc Pederson. Well, can't wait to see you drop him in
20 minutes,
3 hours a day. We'll see. Good luck, man.
All right. So we didn't forget about those of you who are needing a reliever. How about somebody that's allowed just one home run all season and has just one game without a strikeout since May 1st? Kyle, school us on Mark Leiter Jr.
Yeah. So I will preface this by saying that he's not going to get you a save right now. Okay. This is kind of like the future. You grab him. He's a deep league stash, I'll say, right? But I think the Cubs closer role could be open for business very damn soon. And the next man up is Mark Leiter Jr. The Cubs' current closer, Hector Neris, blew another save yesterday versus the Giants. That was his fourth blown save of the season and his third blown save over his past 7 chances. He's allowed 9 earned runs across 8 2/3 innings pitched. So his hold on the closer role is tenuous at this point. Leiter Jr. is currently the number 96 reliever in fantasy. He's had 31 appearances. He's 2-4, no saves on the year, 28 innings pitched. ERA's at 4.5, but FIP and xFIP are both in the mid 2s. So he's had, some bad luck or some bad defense, or, a combination of the two. WHIP is a little high at 1.32. What he really brings to the table is his strikeout ability. It's excellent. Striking out batters 31.5% of the time, puts him in the 8% best pitchers in the league. Walk rate's 8.9. That's, pretty good. Still in line with his career average as well. StatCast is pretty damn nice, really. Induces a lot of soft contact, and I am here for it. Hard hit rate is in the top 20%. Average exit velo top 13. Barrel rate's a bit below average, what he allows, but I'll take what I can get, right? And the swing and miss department is just like Sears, right? He shuts that shit down, okay? An amazing whiff rate of 35.3%. He's in the top 3% best pitchers in the majors, and his chase rate of over 32%, also excellent. He's finding himself in the 83rd percentile in chase rate. Has a nice 5-pitch mix. Isn't a flamethrower at all, just a 91 mile an hour fastball velocity. A lot of breaking balls and a lot of off-speed pitches for this guy. He really lives on his split finger and sinker. He tosses each of them about 33% of the time, and his split finger is a whiff machine, a 63.3%
Holy
whiff rate. He uses it effectively versus left or right-handed batters as well, and he has a batting average against when throwing that pitch of just 0.068 and a 60% strikeout rate. I mentioned he had a sinker he uses a lot. I expected him to be a better ground ball pitcher than he is, but he's actually 2% higher than MLB average. Below average in fly ball rate, right on the nose for line drive rate. He's just below average when it comes to overall contact in the strike zone, but damn, his breaking stuff is so effective. When he gets batters to chase, he's allowing contact just 41% of the time. That's a 17% difference from league average. It's very impressive. So he's just got 7 saves in his career, but with that great strikeout rate and all that soft contact, he's a great reliever to grab to wait and see if he gets the nod to be the closer for the Cubs soon. Love it. Nice. Anything popping off in the chat here?
Negative.
Anything good? All right. Okay, real quick, we'll discuss the standings here in the Listener League. Let me throw them on the screen. Loud Boys back in first after being dislodged for a week at 7-4. I'm right behind him at 6-5. Do I have the? Oh no, Icon, highest scoring guy in the league with 5,400, and he's in 7th. It's a rough, but again, still very close. 7-4, 4-7, very close league. Where are you at, Matt? Still in 9th.
I'm in playoff contention. And
you're busting me. You're busting me up so far on the week, but it's really only been a day. So, nice. Yeah. Good luck, everybody, on their matchups this week. Heck yeah. Kelsey says, "Thanks, guys. You the bestest." How was? I know you drove. How was your drive yesterday?
So it was pretty interesting. I drove down from Indianapolis here to Eastern Tennessee, and the GPS decided I was going to take the scenic route, and so I get to I don't know, the backwoods of Eastern Kentucky, and it was somewhere like in the Cumberland Gap or some shit like that. And it's like, all right, I gotta take a leak. I need some gas, and I got the EDM just blasting in the truck, the windows down, and I pull into this gas station, and there's like 3 good old boys just standing there looking at me like, who the hell are you? And what the hell is that sound coming from your truck? I hop out, and one of them says, "Y'all not from around here, are you?" And no, as a matter of fact, I'm not.
Did you look over your shoulder to see who else they were talking about?
No kidding. And it was, I'm not from around here, and I certainly can't wait to get the hell out of here either. I went ahead and made myself a Twitter. You can see that there. I'm at SOSP_Matt. Go ahead and give me a follow, because right now it's just the show and porn bots, and they're not really that much fun to talk to. So,
and I didn't know we were putting ours on here today, so I have one. I just don't remember what it is really.
You can do it whenever you want to.
All right, everybody, we're gonna get the hell out of here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Podcast is available next day on Spotify, Apple, and more. And we'll be back Thursday night at 7 for low owned 2-start pitchers for the week of June 24th. Matt, everybody else out there, have a great evening. Stay stoned.
See you, folks.